Did you know that your risk of a heart attack is up to 40% higher between 7 a.m. and 11 a.m. than at any other time of day? That is not a random statistic. That is biology. And most people are walking straight into that danger zone every single morning without realizing it. I've seen it in my practice for over 15 years. Patients come in after a cardiac event, and when we walk backward through their morning, the patterns are almost always the same. Not the big things they worried about. The small things. The habits they thought were harmless. The routines they never questioned. You do not need to overhaul your entire life to protect your heart. But you do need to stop doing a few specific things first thing in the morning. Things that are quietly, steadily, putting strain on your cardiovascular system before your feet even hit the floor. Before I walk you through these, do me a quick favor. If you want more videos that explain the why behind your body, instead of just handing you a pill, hit subscribe, give this a like, and leave me a comment telling me one morning habit you already know you need to change. I read them, and what you share genuinely shapes what I cover next. So let us get into it. Here is what almost no one explains to you in a rushed office visit. Your body is not designed to be thrown from sleep into full wakefulness like a switch being flipped. When you sleep, your heart rate drops, your blood pressure falls, your parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest system, is in control. Then morning comes, and your body begins a carefully orchestrated transition. Cortisol rises naturally to help you wake up. Blood pressure surges to prepare you for the day, and a protein that makes your blood clot more easily peaks right around 6:30 a.m. That is your body doing what it is supposed to do. The problem is what we add on top of that natural surge. And the first thing most people do, the very first thing, is the one that may do the most damage. You wake up and you reach for your phone. Before you have taken a single breath, before you have even sat up, you open your eyes and immediately flood your brain with emails, notifications, news, messages. And here is what that does to your heart. Your heart rate rises, your blood pressure rises. Cortisol, the stress hormone, spikes even higher than that natural morning surge. You are taking a system that is already ramping up for the day, and you are hitting it with a stress response before it is ready. Over time, that morning cortisol surge from screen time contributes to inflammation, narrows your blood vessels, and makes your heart work harder than it needs to. One cardiologist I spoke with put it simply: starting your day in a state of stress activates your sympathetic nervous system, which raises cortisol and catecholamine levels, increasing blood pressure and heart rate. And over time, that takes a toll. The fix is simple. Do not look at your phone for the first 15 to 30 minutes after you wake up. Give your body time to complete its natural waking process before you introduce external stress. Let the sunrise, not the screen, be the first thing you see. The second thing people do, and this one is perhaps the most dangerous of all, is they wake up to a loud, jarring alarm clock. Now I know what you are thinking. How else am I supposed to wake up? I have a job. I have responsibilities. I cannot just wake up naturally every day. I understand that. But the research here is striking, and I need you to hear it. A study from the University of Virginia School of Nursing found that waking up to an alarm can result in a 74% increase in blood pressure compared to waking up naturally. Let me say that again. A 74% increase. That is not a small spike. That is a massive surge. And it is even greater in people who have slept less than 7 hours. When an alarm jolts you out of deep sleep, your body releases a flood of stress. Hormones, adrenaline, cortisol, your heart rate accelerates, your blood vessels constrict, and you are left in a state called sleep inertia, a period of grogginess and cardiovascular stress that can last up to 2 hours. For people with existing heart conditions or hypertension, that abrupt surge can be the trigger for a cardiac event. The research also found that the blood pressure increase from forced awakening is significantly greater in individuals who report higher anxiety levels. So if you are already prone to morning stress, that alarm is making it worse. Now I'm not telling you to throw away your alarm clock tomorrow, but I am telling you to change the way you use it. Use a gentle melodic sound instead of a loud, jarring one. If you can, let natural light into your room to help you wake gradually. And if you absolutely must use an alarm, set it for a time when you are more likely to be in a lighter sleep phase, not in the middle of deep sleep. The third thing people do, and this one is the easiest to fix, is they skip water. You have just gone 7 or 8 hours without any fluid intake. Your body is mildly dehydrated, and dehydration makes your blood thicker, more viscous, more likely to clot. A study published in the European Journal of Nutrition found that even mild dehydration can increase the risk of cardiovascular disease. When your blood is thicker, your heart has to work harder to pump it. And when you combine that with the natural morning blood pressure surge, you are putting unnecessary strain on your cardiovascular system. Drinking a glass of room temperature water right after waking helps thin the blood slightly and eases the load on your heart. It is one of the simplest, most effective things you can do for your cardiovascular health, and almost nobody does it. The fourth thing, and this one surprises a lot of my patients, is skipping breakfast. Now I know there is a lot of debate about breakfast, intermittent fasting, time-restricted eating. I'm not here to tell you that you must eat the moment you wake up, but I am here to tell you that skipping breakfast habitually is associated with increased cardiovascular risk. A 2025 study published in the journal Nutrients found that both regular and irregular breakfast skipping may impair early morning vascular endothelial function, which is a key marker of cardiovascular health. The study suggested that this impairment happens through alterations in glucose metabolism. In other words, when you skip breakfast, your blood sugar regulation suffers, and that directly affects the health of your blood vessels. Another systematic review found that skipping breakfast was associated with a 17% increased risk of cardiovascular disease, and a Mendelian randomization study confirmed a causal association between breakfast skipping and an increased risk of heart failure. Now I want to be clear. This does not mean you need a large, heavy breakfast. What it means is that your body benefits from some nourishment in the morning to stabilize blood sugar and support vascular function. A simple breakfast with protein and fiber, eggs, oats, a banana with nuts is enough. What you want to avoid is starting your day with nothing but coffee on an empty stomach, which can spike stress hormones and blood pressure. Which brings me to the fifth thing, coffee first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Now I am not anti-coffee. In fact, recent research, published in the European Heart Journal, found that morning coffee drinkers were 31% less likely to die of heart disease compared to non-coffee drinkers. But here is the key. Morning coffee drinkers, not all-day coffee drinkers, not coffee on an empty stomach first thing. Caffeine causes a temporary spike in blood pressure. When you combine that with the natural morning blood pressure surge, the stress of waking up, and dehydration from the night, you are multiplying the strain on your heart. Drinking coffee later in the morning, after you have hydrated and eaten something, aligns better with your body's natural cortisol rhythm. The research suggests that drinking coffee later in the day may disrupt circadian rhythms and increase inflammation and blood pressure. But morning coffee, consumed thoughtfully, appears to have protective effects. The key is timing. Hydrate first, eat something, then have your coffee, not the other way around. The sixth thing, and this one is controversial, is jumping straight into vigorous exercise the moment you wake up. Now I want to be very careful here because I am a huge advocate of physical activity. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools we have for cardiovascular health. But the timing matters, especially for certain people. Your risk of a cardiovascular event is already elevated in the morning due to that natural blood pressure surge, increased blood viscosity, and higher cortisol levels. Adding vigorous exercise on top of that, before your body has had time to fully wake up and stabilize, can be risky, particularly for people with underlying heart conditions. One study found a threefold increase in cardiovascular disease incidence among individuals whose physical activity peaked between 7 p.m. and 12 p.m. compared to those whose activity peaked between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Another study suggested that exercising in the morning has a greater potential for inducing sudden cardiac death and myocardial ischemia. Now I want to emphasize that regular physical activity is protective. The benefits far outweigh the risks for most people. But if you are going to exercise in the morning, especially if you are over 50 or have risk factors for heart disease, start gently. Do not go from zero to maximum intensity. Warm up properly. Let your blood pressure stabilize. Give your body time to transition. Gentle movement, stretching, a brisk walk, these are protective. But heavy exertion first thing in the morning, before you have hydrated and eaten and given your cardiovascular system time to adjust, that is where the risk lies. So let me tie all of this together because this is the reason these habits matter when you think about them individually, but they are even more dangerous when you stack them. You wake up to a jarring alarm. Your blood pressure surges 74%. You reach for your phone. Cortisol spikes further. You skip water. Your blood is thicker, more viscous. You skip breakfast. Your vascular function is impaired. You drink coffee on an empty stomach. Your blood pressure spikes again. And then you jump into vigorous exercise before your body is ready. That is not one risk factor. That is 6. Stacked on top of each other. in the first hour of your day, during the hours when your heart is already most vulnerable. Now I want to tell you about someone I will call Richard. 58 years old, successful in his career, fit by most standards. He ran 3 miles every morning, ate well, did not smoke. He came to me after a mild heart attack that completely blindsided him. He could not understand how this had happened to him. We walked through his morning. Loud alarm at 5:30 a.m., phone immediately. Checked emails before he even sat up. No water, coffee on the way to the gym. Vigorous run within 20 minutes of waking. No breakfast until after. He was doing everything right by conventional standards. But his morning routine was a perfect storm of cardiovascular stress. We did not change his diet dramatically. We did not tell him to stop exercising. We just changed the order of his morning. Softer alarm, no phone for 15 minutes. A glass of water first. A small breakfast before coffee. Gentle warm-up before his run. And he started hydrating before he left the house. Within 3 months, his blood pressure readings were consistently lower. His resting heart rate dropped. And he told me he felt calmer in the mornings, less rushed, less stressed. That is the power of understanding the biology. You are not fighting against your body. You are working with it. So here is what I want you to do. Starting tomorrow morning. 1. Change your alarm to something gentle and melodic. 2. Do not look at your phone for the first 15 minutes after you wake up. 3. Drink a full glass of room temperature water before anything else. 4. Eat something, even something small, within an hour of waking. 5. Have your coffee after food, not before. 6. If you exercise in the morning, warm up properly and start gently. You do not have to do all 6 perfectly tomorrow. Add them in over the next week. Stack them, and watch what happens to how you feel. Not just in your heart, but in your entire day. Your heart does its most important work while you sleep. Repairing, restoring, preparing for the day ahead. When you wake up, it is ready to support you. The question is whether you are going to support it back, or whether you are going to make its job harder. The choice is yours, and it starts tomorrow morning. Before I let you go, I need to draw one clear line. If you have known heart disease, high blood pressure, or any cardiovascular condition, talk to your doctor before making significant changes to your morning routine, especially around exercise. These habits are protective for most people, but your situation may be different. Bring this list to your next appointment instead. So here is your plan. Tonight, set a gentle alarm. Place a glass of water on your nightstand. And tomorrow morning, give yourself 15 minutes of calm before you touch your phone. That single change, repeated daily, may be one of the most protective things you ever do for your heart. Your heart has been working for you every single second of your life. It deserves a gentler start to its day. If this video helped you understand your morning routine differently, share it with someone you care about. And leave me a comment telling me which of these habits you're going to change first. I genuinely read them, and your stories shape what I cover next. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.